Hey, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the Behold Women's Gathering. It's an incredible women's conference happening February 7th, 2026. Check it out, beholdwomensgathering.com.
Beholdgathering.com too.
Beholdgathering.com. Today's podcast, we have our friends Brian and Jen Goins. Let's get into it.
Oh, don't you know it's called rolling out the prison? Marriage podcast.
Okay. So you guys have been married for 29 years, right?
Yes.
And 3 kids, 26, 23, 17, right at the cusp. Is your 17-year-old still living at home?
He is. He's a senior in high school.
Oh, last
know.
one.
We're getting ready to launch him.
Oh, man. So we need to do another one next year after he launches, and you can help us through that.
We would love to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll be so happy at that moment, right?
Yeah, like
Be
all
excited.
of the
Happy
fun
and
things
sad.
that happen when the nest gets empty.
Yeah.
That's a good episode.
Well, and you guys you're foodies. You like really good food,
Yeah.
hiking, traveling, and reading books in bed at night. Do you read the same books or
No.
are
That
you
would
reading
be so
separate
romantic, don't you think? Like, no way, you turn the page. We're so in love. No, we actually turn about as far apart as we can
Yes.
on either side, and there's like a barrier between us. And she reads her book, and I read my book.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then we say, good night. Good night.
And there was one time. Can I say this?
Yes.
There was one time where Jen really loves to read at night, and I think that's why I adopted it. She snookered me into not having a TV in our room, like right before we got married. She's like, "Hey, I have this idea. Could we have no TV in the bedroom?" And when you're getting newlywed, you're like, "Of course. Why would I not say yes to that?" And so I said, and so we haven't had a TV, and so we don't say that to pride ourselves, but now with phones, it's easy to have a TV in your room, right? But anyways. The routine is that Jen and I will read at night, and then we'll turn off the bed and turn off the light and go to bed. And I remember she got into bed and started reading, and then she kind of sighed, and then rolled over and turned off her light. I'm like, "Honey, what's wrong?" And she's like, "Well, I finished my book, and there's just nothing fun to do in bed without a book."
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he never lets me forget that. He's like, thanks. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, no, that's not what I meant. I'm so sorry.
That's amazing. I love that so much.
He has a couple ideas and I have a couple ideas. But yes, we both really enjoy reading books, and we both enjoy good meals together and kind of researching what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And then we love going to wonderful hikes in Montana and other places as well too. But something that we've done for 29 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, we met you guys through Weekend to Remember, where we always talk about Weekend to Remember on the podcast.
Cool.
You guys trained us to
Trained
be on the speaker team,
Mhm.
and you're an amazing couple, amazing communicators.
Yeah.
Brian, you provide oversight and leadership for the Weekend to Remember, and you help to create the content for the Weekend to Remember. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
me and a guy by the name of Ed Uzinski, we kind of helped lead up that, and we're co-creators on redoing it, refreshing it. I mean, obviously the principles have been around since 1976. On Sally Meredith, they came up with the material and the content in a small group. There were all these missionary families that were struggling on Campus Crusade for Christ and had great ministry but terrible marriages, and they're like, eventually our ministry will be held. We'll be struggling if our marriages don't match what we're saying to everybody about the gospel. And so Don had this idea. He's like, well, God created marriage. He knows how it works. So he just dove into the scriptures, Genesis 1 and 2, and came up with the principles. And they started in a small group, and then it just rippled out to the world.
What an impact. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Love
And
that.
Jen, you are the women's director at Calvary Chapel, Melbourne, Florida.
yep.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I just lead up the women's groups there, and we do events and we do support groups, and we just minister to the women in the Melbourne area of Florida, and I love it. Just had a huge brunch this past weekend for all the women, and it was great. And just love doing ministry to females, just praying with them and discipling them and seeing them grow in the Lord. And so it's a really, really great job. And I just am privileged to be able to work with women and then also work with family life and marriages as well.
Yeah, she does a great job.
Oh man, you guys are a
Okay.
power couple.
Mm-hmm.
No question about it.
Story. Yeah.
We're going to get into this podcast by doing some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Okay.
First thing that comes to your head,
Uh-huh.
on your mark, get set. Who said "I love you" first?
Oh, Brian.
Oh, Brian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Early bird or night owl? And which one of you suffers more because of it?
Well, I used to be the night owl and she was early bird, but now I feel like I'm becoming an early bird and I go I go to bed just as early as she does.
True.
Yeah.
He still has the ability though to stay up later than I do. Like when people are over or when it's like a guy's night, he can stay up late and
Or cards are in play. I can go.
he loves games. So
Mhm.
he will stay up later. Or a good football game or whatever. And I'm
Yep.
still kind of like, don't care about the football game, don't care about the card game. I'm going to bed.
Which one of you would be more likely to start a deep conversation at bedtime?
Ooh. Probably would it be me?
Yeah, I think you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Who
Not
is
Jen. Definitely not Jen.
Yeah, definitely not me.
not you? Okay. You're like, I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
Who is the planner and who's the let's just wing it person?
Gosh. He's the planner for sure. Yeah.
But
And I'm more
you're spontaneous
Yes.
for sure. I mean, but I'm also that's a weird thing. Like I'm spontaneous, but I love to have a good plan.
Yeah.
She loves to be a part of the plan and the spontaneity. Like Jen really, that's one thing I loved about her right from the get-go. She's so adventurous and she likes she loves to have fun and whether that's initiated or she's thinking about it. So it's great.
Okay.
If
Like
your
that.
marriage had a theme song, what would it be?
You're the inspiration.
I'm going to old Chicago.
Old
This-
Chicago.
That's
Yeah.
a good one.
You bring
I
meaning
really
into
like
my
that.
life. You're the
Good
inspiration.
song.
That
love
man,
that.
you
I
were
love that
ready
song.
with it too.
I'm
Is
glad
that?
she
I mean,
didn't
is that
say,
the?
"You don't bring me flowers," by Neil Diamond. That would have been. We'd have to
Okay, I don't know if
have a
you-
conversation with you.
What is the dumbest thing you've ever argued about that you can laugh at now?
The suds in the sink.
Yeah. That's in the sink.
Like one of you's like, don't leave suds in the sink.
Me. Yeah.
Okay.
He would be all proud of himself and be like, I cleaned the kitchen. And I would walk in the kitchen, there'd be suds in the sink. And I would say, well, you didn't really clean the kitchen. You didn't finish the job, really. And it really hurt his feelings many times. So because he really did do his best. And that wasn't a big deal to him. He didn't know to do that. And then, and I would still get mad at him or he would forget. And then
Yeah.
we'd have fights over it.
Yeah.
And, so yes.
Nothing big. Suds in the sink.
Suds in the sink.
All right. Who's more likely to cry during a movie? That's the last one, and then we'll get into.
Probably Brian Goins.
What was the last movie that made you cry, Brian Goins?
Let's see. Well, Boys in the Boat for sure. If you saw that,
Such a good
because
movie.
I rode in high school, and so that had a lot of meaning to me. But I can cry at a commercial. Like it doesn't.
He gets teared up.
I get teared up. I feel it.
Okay.
Yeah, especially this time of year, man. The commercials will get you in a heartbeat.
Mhm.
I'm that way too.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah. That's so true.
I still cry about that, like that Folgers commercial where the son comes home early in the morning
Yeah, I
and wakes
remember
up.
that one.
Gets me every time. I
That's
mean,
a good one.
It cries. It makes me cry because they're drinking Folgers. Like why?
Yeah.
That's
that's
the
probably why
coffee
he's
they gotta
crying.
live with.
Nobody wants to drink that. Okay. Brian, I've heard you say this before, and I've actually listened to a podcast that you do, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But it's a quote that you might be known for, and I don't know if this is you or you borrowed this from somebody else, but it's just great marriages don't just happen. And I would love to know how you've seen that play out in your own story, you guys together, and what does it practically look like to build a marriage instead of just like hope for the best?
Well, I wish I could claim credit for that quote. That is Family Life, who puts on the Weekend to Remember. That's one of their marketing slogans for the Weekend to Remember is that great marriages don't just happen. So if I say it enough, eventually people will think it's mine. So we'll just claim it as mine that I came up with it. But between us, it was Family Life. And it's just the idea that it's like anything good in life doesn't just happen. It takes intentionality, whether, you want to have a good body, you want to make a good meal, you want to go on a good vacation. It's like you want to be good at work. We're willing to work hard at those things because we know the only thing that's instant is like instant ramen noodles. Well, that's not going to be very good. I mean, you can't live on that. And so marriage is in the same way, but for some reason we tend to think that it just happens the moment we say I do, that we're going to make this a great marriage, and it takes some intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
On your podcast, it's a family life podcast called Married with Benefits. You work alongside Dr. Shanti Feldhahn. Talk about this. This is a good episode and kind of what we want to get into tonight. Some of the characteristics of highly happy couples.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the list, what are some of the secrets that come most naturally to you? And what are the ones that you still have to be really, really intentional about?
Yeah. Because hope isn't a strategy, right? So there has to be some habits that go with that. And what I loved about what Shanti Feldhahn did is that she really looked at the science and really looked at the pros in marriage. What were the ones that were really good at it? And she scientifically showed the group that was really doing it. What were the habits that they were practicing? So let's watch the pros, just like we do, when I was playing basketball. I'd want to watch the guys that were playing really well. I didn't watch the other 8th graders that were in my class. I watched the pros. I didn't put their poster on my wall, Morgan Brick from back in 8th grade. I put Michael Jordan, and I said, because I want to be just like him. So that's what she did. What were the habits? And she found 13 of them, of these habits that were characteristic of these pros in marriage. And I don't know if you remember some of them.
Oh, yeah.
So you give some of your favorites.
Okay, well, one of my first favorites is that they hang out. Happy couples, they hang out. They are spending time together. And here's the thing: what brings you together is probably going to keep you together. So if you find yourself 5-10 years into marriage and you have a couple kids and you have busy lives and busy jobs, which we all do, and you stop hanging out, that is going to tear you apart. The thing that you did when you were dating, you hung out a lot, you did fun things together, you went out on dates, you maybe just hung out at home, you did adventures, some things, you surprised each other, you were giddy about bringing flowers to each other or doing special gifts. Or we've watched 2 of our kids date pretty seriously and now are getting married. And we kind of see their fun things that they do as dating couples. And it's caused us to remember the things that we did. And when you stop doing those things, you stop hanging out, then your marriage is going to struggle and crumble because you're just not communicating, you're not connecting. And there's a couple different ways that you can hang out. You can hang out very seriously where you're going on dates or you're having a time in the morning or at night or over coffee or whatever, where you're talking pretty seriously about things. Maybe you're delving into your feelings or your thoughts, or you're talking about your dreams or your hopes or issues that you're having. And that's really important. That was what we call like quality time together. But then there's also just the quantity time together where you're running errands together or you're doing a home project together, or you drop everything so you can go pick up the kids together instead of maybe just sending one person off to do it, where you're in the car together and you're just hanging out. And so one of the secrets is that happy couples do not stop hanging out. They're actually still spending time together, both quality and quantity time. And both of those are important.
Super important. And I think the other one I really liked was highly happy couples go to bed mad. There's that verse in Ephesians where it says, don't let the sun go down in your anger, which is in Ephesians 4, where Paul talks about that. He's actually quoting a verse in Psalm 4, that talks about how you actually need to go to your bed and think and ponder on what's going on inside your heart and then come back together. And so what he's referring to is he's saying the important thing is you need to resolve it quickly, but you might need some time to get away and actually think about what's going on inside your heart and how you come back together. And so I think for us, Jen doesn't like to have any serious conversation at night. And so to have an argument or try to resolve an argument that in that moment is not going to be wise. And so how do I be a student of my spouse and then say, well, I need to actually resolve it quickly? So great couples, what they do is they don't let things go unresolved or push things under the rug. they set times to have a fight, to sit down and really talk about what's going on with each other. And we did do that great, especially early on. We would just let things linger. I know for me, I would just like step up and not come back to them. I've had to learn how to that calmness or harmony isn't the same thing as intimacy. Actually, when I let things go and don't resolve them, and our attitudes just kind of come back and life just gets moving again, that things are resolved. They're not. And we have to come back to them at some point in time. So I think even though couples, they may not resolve everything right there in the moment, they're really intentional about coming back to it soon and resolving it. So that's another good habit. But there's 13 of them, and we do a podcast on each one. They're all fun and exciting. What's great about it is they're all accessible. Like even the hanging out one, it's not so much about, just always having these great, unbelievable dates. It's how do you find time to not feel like roommates anymore or business partners with the kids? But you're actually going, like Jen said, going together to a soccer practice. Yeah, you may not feel like one of you wants to hang back sometimes, but that's actually a time where you can connect. If you don't have any time of the week, maybe that's your connecting time. But every one of the habits are things that it can easily be done.
Speaking of those habits, you guys have been in every season of life almost. You're not quite empty nesters, but you're almost there. And so you've been married with no kids, you've had little kids, you've had, teens, and then now you're raising adults and having new people come into your family. Has there been a season that holding on to those things or practicing those habits has been more difficult? Like, take us back to a time maybe that you're like, we had to really be intentional in this season, and maybe share a story, or just how did you work through that?
Yeah, I think for sure when we had two teenagers and I don't know, fourth or fifth grader, and all of them were in, at least one activity, maybe at one time not driving, many were driving. So it was just a lot of just kid stuff and trying to get dinner on the table and trying to get people out the door and things like that, and then still working and all that kind of stuff. So I think during that time we had to be really intentional. And I think one of the things that we did that has kind of come through was we started, because when we had that, the kids were no longer super needy with us anymore. In other words, we weren't having to brush their teeth anymore or anything like that. So they were able to get up and get out of bed. And so that's when we kind of realized, and they weren't waking us up at 6 o'clock anymore. They were all kind of wanting to sleep in. And so we kind of found it was no longer really date night. It was more like coffee at 6:30 or 7 a.m. before they woke up. And that's where we really learned to, or have time to connect, because we knew once that coffee was over at 7:30 and kids started to have to go to school at 7:30 or whatever time it was, that we were going to hit our heads to the pillow that night at 10 or 11 and just be pretty exhausted and out of steam and ready to go to bed. And our kids were still going to be up half the time anyway. And we were just going to have a lot of alone time.
And there's nothing fun to do in bed without a book. So,
right. So it's just,
what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
When you think about like the question of, do you have a happy marriage? If somebody asks me, do I have a happy marriage? I'll say, yeah, I think so most of the time, but sometimes happiness in marriage, can be misunderstood, especially if you use the culture's kind of definition of what a happy marriage is like. What do you think about, couples and trying to find a happy marriage, chasing happiness? What are some of the pitfalls that people can experience in misunderstanding what that really means, what it really means to have a happy marriage?
Yeah, I think a lot of us come into marriage. I think happiness for me, especially right when we were getting married, was that I had an idea of what sex was going to be like. I had an idea of what adventure was going to be like. I had an idea of how Jen was going to respect me and laugh at my jokes all the time. And so I had all these ideas about what would make me happy. And I think when both of you are coming into that marriage where both of you are expecting a certain level of happiness, or what it would be like at 6 o'clock when you come home at night and that there would be food waiting for you, or that Jen was thinking that we were going to sit down and have a deep, meaningful conversation about each of our days, and that I would ask all these questions, and that we would just be super engaging and intuitive, and you would read my mind and I would read your mind, and it was all really focused on me. And it's like, it's a me happy marriage versus an us happy marriage. And I think an us happy marriage is more, how do I actually understand more of what makes you tick and how do I make you happy and serve you. And when both people are doing that and coming up with like, this is the us, this is what our us looks like. What does it look like to be happy and together versus what is this marriage going to do to make me happy? I think that's a huge perspective shift that a lot of couples, if they don't go through that, they end up saying, well, this marriage wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And since you're not making me happy, I'm going to go find somebody that will make me happy. And they'll just repeat that cycle.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of times what we do is we look at others and we compare ourselves. And as we know, comparison kills. And so we think other people are so happy when in reality, everyone has so many boring, everyday days where we're just doing life. And what we see on social media are the date nights or the big, I don't know, maybe it seems like everyday life, but no one's life is perfect and no one's life is exciting all the time. And if it is exciting all the time, I mean, be happy for them. Otherwise, just realize that they're probably chasing happy all the time or exciting. And there's going to be times for most of us, that's just day in and day out life. And of course, we want to have joy. We want to be kind to each other. We do have a happy marriage. I'm so thankful for that. But I think when people would maybe see us, maybe they would look at us and think that we have this great, perfect marriage because we are on stage a lot and we lead marriage ministry at our church and we get along pretty well in public, so on and so forth. But in reality, you come into our house and we are just normal people that have boring days and we get up and go to work and we come home and have to make dinner and have to clean up dishes and all that kind of stuff. And so it's finding joy and happiness in those mundane moments as
Good.
well. That is really what my parents have been married for over 50 years. And I just think of how many just normal days that they've had. But when you stack those up and then after that long and you look back and good times and bad times, it's like they've had a marriage and they've been faithful to each other and they've had happiness at times, but they've also had sadness at times and frustration and all the things. And so I think we all have that. And a lot of it though is leaning on your covenant with each other to be faithful so you can have the future to have the really happy times. But then also when it's the mundane and the sad, you're there for each other as well.
Okay, so let's talk about the mundane then, because I think that's a yeah,
It's really gonna get good now.
lots of
Yeah.
listeners. No, but that's the reality that we don't live in the Instagram reel or the highlight reel. It's what we call the real reel. And so, Brian, I know I've heard this from you on the podcast that you like lists. That way you
Yeah.
can kind of check things off.
Mhm.
So what are some practical ways that you do that in the mundane? How do you connect? Are there some practical things that you guys do for each other to invest in the happiness of your marriage? I mean, you mentioned when the kids were all there that you did the coffee date, but now that you're in this season where, two are grown and gone, and then you have one that's, you're launching, what are some ways you do that?
Yeah, that's great.
Well, I can brag on Brian.
All right,
Yeah.
let's do that. Let's take some time and do this for right now.
Yes.
I'm going to take some notes.
I can think of two things, and they're real small.
Wait, what's he saying?
I'll play a nice keyboard pad
I
underneath
love
while this
that.
is happening.
I'd
Yeah.
love you for, and I know you're good at guitar. Someone's good at guitar. I'm sure you are. I would love that too. Okay, so they're really small, but when you do a consistent behavior over time, over and over again, and it becomes a habit, like we've talked about. And it can be real small things, but Brian every single night makes the coffee for me. And so whether he gets up or I wake up, we don't have one where you can set the timer. You'd have to push the button. Someone has to get up and push the button. We always say that. Can you go push the button? But he always has it ready. He has the coffee measured out and he has the water and he does it every single night. And I love that.
Yeah.
That ministers to me so much. And he's been doing it now for years. And I just think it's just a really special little thing that you could choose not to do. And it probably would be a big thing. But because he has done it consistent behavior over time, it's now become a thing. And now our kids see it and they know that dad makes the coffee for mom. And I love that. Another thing that he does is we make one of the things that we talk about in our marriage talk is that uh our differences, that we're different. And I grew up that the bed had to be made every morning, and
Yep.
he does never had to make the bed and doesn't care.
It didn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
Nobody docked us for it.
Yeah, no one docked him for making the bed. So he grew up and he's like, doesn't matter if we make the bed, but that's really important for me. I love the bed to be made. And so at the beginning of our marriage, I was kind of like, okay, I'll sacrifice and I'll make the bed, even though I'd like to do it together, or maybe I'd like for him to do it every once in a while. And I kind of felt like I was sacrificing. And I was for many years. I made the bed, and it was, not a huge deal. There were some mornings where I'm like, it'd be nice if someone else made the bed besides me. Somewhere along the way, he started making the bed in the morning. And so now we just have this like way that he totally serves me. And I am so blessed by that and sometimes I still make it, but, I'll come in and the bed will be already made. And I'm like, I love that. For one thing, I feel like I've trained him well.
Yeah. Home training.
Yeah, home training. But another thing is just a small way that he serves me. And I feel so loved and so appreciated. And it's just a part of our marriage that makes me really happy. And I'm really thankful for it.
And I think, speaking of small things, I think that's one of the things that Shanti talks about. She talks about Fantastic Five. She has what they call the Fantastic Five for husbands and Fantastic Five for wives. And these are the 5 little habits that if each spouse will do them, they're not hard, but if you do them on a consistent basis over time, you'll just find yourself getting closer to each other. And so, like for me, I know Jen really showing appreciation is big, just to say thank you.
Yeah.
Just to be able to, like, whenever we have, Jen is the cook, I'm not, I'm more the griller. But she does amazing food all the time. And she's always thinking about new and different things to create, which is awesome for me because I love to eat. But just to be able to stop and not just assume she's going to make dinner, but man, thanks for going to the effort and just showing some appreciation. And she does that for me as well, just to show appreciation for the mundane things, for mowing the grass. Just not assuming that, well, that's just what they should do because that's just a blue job. We call them blue jobs or pink jobs. Like that's the thing the husband should do. That's the thing the wife should do. Whatever that might look like in your house, and it's different for every house. That we just kind of take the person for granted. And one thing that Jen really does is she shows a lot of appreciation. I really appreciate you for working or doing, making the outside of the house look great. That's kind of my area. That's what I like to do. And so, showing appreciation. I think being able to, for us. One thing that's helped us is just praying together. And I didn't do this for 23 out of our 29 years of marriage. So 23 years, the number one thing on my wife's prayer list was that she would have a husband that would pray with her. I knew she wanted it. I knew she desired it. I just felt so intimidated and insecure by it for whatever reason. I think the enemy was just trying to keep us against each other and keep that part of intimacy with God and with each other away from our life as long as possible. And once I gave into that and realized she's not looking for somebody to say incredibly flowery prayers or pray in the King James only. She's just looking for somebody to admit there's a king in the castle and it's not me. Once we had teenagers realizing that we really needed God's help, that's when our prayer life really skyrocketed. And that's when I realized, okay, this is something that needs to be part of our life, not just when we have needs, but just on a regular, ongoing basis. So I think prayer has been another thing that has been something I wish I had started earlier. And that has been a part of our life.
Yeah, but it's definitely given us in these last however many years, 5 or 6 years. It's like, wow, we have a whole new thing that God has blessed us with in our marriage, and we're really thankful for that.
And if I could say one other thing, just in different seasons of life, I think being intentional about your sex life is super important. And it looks different when you don't have any kids. That seems to be the easiest time. Then when you do have young kids, you got to be intentional about that. Scheduling. You never thought you'd schedule sex, but scheduling is really important. And then now that we're in the stage now where I can work from home a lot, and then she has a pretty flexible job as well. And Gibson's out of the house because and he doesn't know what's going on in the house during the day. He doesn't need to know. But there's a reason why that song "Afternoon Delight" is one of my favorite ones. So just finding times to be intentional with that, I think, has been helpful.
Yeah.
I think what you guys just kind of covered for all of us listening is such an important reminder that you don't have to have these grand gestures to win the heart of your spouse. It's making coffee. It's helping make the bed. It's saying, hey, thanks for taking care of the yard. It needs to be done, and you did a great job. It's not this massive, expensive date. It's just learning how consistency over time to be kind to one another and appreciate each other and show honor to one another. It's just a simple, simple thing, but so beautiful. And that's how we keep getting closer together. And it's honestly how you become satisfied and content with life and happiness with your spouse when you trade those kind of things. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful lesson for all of us. Thank you so much for saying that.
Carl, can I just say, you just said something that sparked something in me. One of my favorite verses in the Bible on marriage. But I mean, it's not really, you would see it initially as a marriage verse, but it can be applied to marriage. Paul is talking to the church in Rome, and he's saying in chapter 12, verse 10, outdo one another in showing honor. And it's like, if you want to have a great church, if you don't want to have lessen your church drama, which that's the worst kind of drama, is church drama. All of us have known something about that. It's like, well, you have a congregation that should just, how do I serve one another? How do I outdo one another in showing honor and appreciation and thanks? And I think that's one thing that Jen does a really good job of. If you have both of us doing that, rather than saying, how do you help me make my life better? No, how do I make your life better? How can I honor you? How can I respect you? How can I appreciate you? When that happens, I think is really huge.
Yeah, but one thing that Shanti also says, and we're quoting her a lot, we love her, but one of the things she says in that book at the very beginning, which I think is so encouraging, she says that it does not take both spouses to start doing these things.
True.
Sometimes it only takes one spouse to do one small thing over and over again.
What book are you referencing?
What?
What's the title of the book you're referencing?
Oh,
It is the Surprising Secrets of Highly Happy Marriages. It's a short book.
but it was a long title.
A long title.
A long title.
The Surprising Secrets of Highly Happy
Yes.
Marriages.
But yeah, but I love that point, and I always try to tell people that if you're feeling like, well, I don't know if my husband's going to change, or I don't know if I'm going to change, or we have to have all this counseling, and maybe you need some counseling, but sometimes it's just some small steps in the right direction that can melt a person's heart, that can, even when you're serving, you become happier. And if you're not doing it to get something in return, I think the Lord can really bless that. And in her research, she found that it wasn't one person making a huge change. It was one person making small steps over time that brought about change. And I've seen that, especially with the women I work with. I work with a lot of women who are married to unbelieving spouses, and they have decided that they've had to put a couple things down. They're not going to nag their husband anymore. They're not going to put him down when he's doing something that maybe he's not very Christian, because he's not a Christian. And so they let it go.
Wow.
They don't nag. They do their best to serve and to laugh and to be fun, and their spouses are like, what is going on? And I will say, for the two women I know who are doing this, their spouses have not come to Christ yet, but they have noticed a difference, and they're very happy in their marriages. And so I just think that's such an encouragement, I think, to men and women, of if you have a spouse that is hard or difficult, that and not abuse or anything like that, and there's definitely not 100% guarantee or anything, but there's some hope that these things can really cause someone's heart to change and to see a difference, and maybe that could be a surprising secret for someone.
That's good. One thing that Jen often, I'll add one more thing. I'll brag on Jen one more time, that she has done throughout different seasons of our married life, is just to say in the mornings, is there anything I can do to serve you today? How can I help you today? And I think just that simple statement, I may not have anything, but I may have one or two things. And it's like, just for her reaching out, it just shows that she's showing honor and wanting to serve. And when, again, if both spouses are doing that, you're going to find that you'll be exponentially more happy in your marriage.
You guys did great. That's a beautiful, beautiful place to stop. I do want to do this though. I want to ask you to tell a story. I think I remember you guys. This is way off topic and way left turn, but you guys have a good story. I think it's camping related.
Oh gosh. You really want us to tell that story?
Would you mind?
Fine.
Who wants to tell it?
You can tell it.
I can tell it.
Either one.
Okay. Well, Brian and I had been married for 5 years, and we had found ourselves unemployed.
Hey,
Brian was unemployed.
Well, no, I was freelance writing. I was a freelance writer.
Yes. which is a fancy term for unemployed. And so he's unemployed, and we had been living in Little Rock,
Mhm.
Arkansas, and we had no money coming in. We literally didn't have a place to go. And so we asked my parents if we could move with them to Montana. And they were in the middle of building their dream home on 5 beautiful acres in Montana. And so the house wasn't quite done yet, and the basement was kind of rough finished. Brantley and myself and our daughter, or Brian, myself and our daughter Brantley, was about 18 months, 2 years. We
Yeah,
lived there for
year and a half.
year and a half old. We moved into the unfinished basement with our parents, and my parents were living there as well. And so we had a room, Brantley had a room, and then my parents were sleeping in the living room on air mattresses. And we didn't even have the doors hung yet. And so my dad had nailed sheets to the wall. And so I know it was crazy. And so
And he slept like 10 feet away because they slept separate.
Yes.
So he slept like real close to our door, and then she slept at the other end because he snores.
So anyways, our intimacy was like nil, because zero.
Goose egg.
Yeah.
Because I was like, Brian, he kind of snuggled up to me at night. I'm like, no, my dad is right there. This is not happening.
She's like, read a book.
Yeah, I'm like, this is not happening. And so after a while, of course, that was not good for our marriage. And Brian especially was getting very frustrated. And so he calls me and he's like, we have got to do something. What are we going to do? And I was like, I know, honey, I felt so bad. I was like, oh my gosh, I have an idea. Let's go camping. And he said, oh, I love that idea. So he drives home, and my mom and I come out, and there's Brian in our backyard setting up a tent. And I'm like, Brian, what are you doing? He's like, well, we're going camping tonight. And my mom goes, you're going camping in our backyard? And Brian's like, yeah, we are going camping in this backyard tonight. And my mom's like, why are you camping in our backyard? And he turns around and goes, because we have not been camping in a really long time.
That's it.
So my mom even mentioned that.
She did. She just mentioned it like 2 days ago. They just left here, and she just brought it up. And we were having dinner or something like that. We were talking about going back to Montana, and they're still on that same 5 acres. Remember, it's 5 acres in Montana. That's a lot of room. Like, there's plenty of place to camp in the back. You don't have to go to the national park.
It was really close to the house, though, so it was really funny.
Anyway, it was.
We had this little tiny, like, LL Bean 2-man tent that we had gotten for our wedding, and we loved that little tent. But there he was setting up in the backyard, and he was like, we haven't been camping in a really long time. And so I was humiliated.
I'm so glad you told that story. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I hope you guys have a lot of camping in your future.
Yeah, thank you.
So that happy camper shirt, whenever we see that, we should have started that. We should have marketed that trend a long time ago.
Yeah, we'd be like sitting pretty right now.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, Brian and Jen, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. You made it so easy for
Yeah,
us.
you guys are great.
You guys are great.
Thank you so much. For everyone listening, Heather and I, we pray for marriages all the time. If you listen to this and you thought, man, I need somebody to pray with me about some of these issues that we've talked about, or, maybe you're that spouse that, you are married to someone who doesn't believe, but you want the Lord's help and grace for you to love them and care for them and honor them. Let us pray with you about it. Send your prayer request to hi@carlandheather.com, hi@carlandheather.com. And we would be honored to pray with you and to seek the Lord with you for your marriage. We're going to wrap it up. Brian and Jen, we always say together on purpose at the end of this podcast. So, because that's what we're out here doing. Mm-hmm. So 3, 2, 1, together on purpose.
Together on purpose.
Love you guys.
Together on purpose. We love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Let's go.
Love it.